Our Life, Our Choice is a campaign to ensure that all people with learning disabilities have a choice about where they live. The Care Quality Commission regulates social care in this country, and they published a document called Right Support, Right Care, Right Culture, in which they specify that they will not register or favourably rate congregate settings. Congregate settings is their word for a village community. Current CQC guidelines have forced the closure of 40 village communities that provided wonderful care for a particular group of people with learning disabilities, and we decided to launch a campaign to stop this happening to others.
Our son was in residential care for over 7 years. My son's very autistic. He has epilepsy. Might use implements to self-injure with. If you try and manhandle him, he will fight back. And we thought with this wide, expansive setting, it had the best chance of working. And then out of the blue, the care home decided to close.
Just turned everything upside down. It's all rubbish because there weren't any choices.
Us and all the other families went on a frantic search for alternative placement. Nobody wanted him. The thing that really keeps us awake at night is the future. We have lived for 8 years with the fear that he will become so distressed that he will come in the attention of the emergency services, whereby they can be locked up like criminals, but there's nowhere to transfer them to.
In their guidelines, the Care Quality Commission specifies that people with learning disabilities should only live in towns and cities with no more than 6 people living in a house. But we are talking about people with severe learning disabilities for whom that is not going to give them the best quality of life.
This has been a very big learning curve for me because my son has just turned 29. He had a complicated early birth and he came through with physical learning and behavioural challenges, what's called complex special needs. And despite all that, he loves the piano. His musical skills and compositions and sheer imagination have left his piano teachers in awe. He's currently cutting an album with a special needs charity in Peterborough, where he's been for the past few months. We looked for 10 years for a place, and I've been trying for a month to get a statement out of the CQC about this conference, asking them specific questions on campus and congregate, and I got basically a copy and paste of the guidelines. Nothing. Heads in the sand. Our human rights are not respected. The system is constructed as such that they are not respected. So I think this organisation could expand enormously to make sure that the rights of every special needs person is respected and that they are not discriminated against. Thank you very much.
So I'm Antonia and I'm Robin's very bossy older sister. Robin has Down syndrome. He's now 67 and he's in the grip of Alzheimer's disease. He's lived at Furlong Close near Devizes for 30 years, a residential close of 5 bungalows. There's a village hall for use of the Furlong Close residents and also hired out for events to the local community. There were craft and woodworking shops, a cafe, horticulture, commercial kitchens, providing meaningful training and working opportunities both to the residents and to day service users. Robin still lives with the people he's known all his adult life until on October 13th in 2020, Home Farm Trust suddenly announced that Furlong Close was to be closed with 9 months' notice. Our special people were facing eviction from the homes that they knew and in which they felt safe and valued and cared for by dedicated and trusted staff. The majority of the family members were elderly in their 70s and 80s. One mother was over 90 and sadly she died before she knew what would happen to her very loved son. And it was a shock that took its toll both physically and mentally on all of us. These village communities condemned by CQC have enabled people with severe learning disabilities to live long, healthy, active and fulfilled lives. In Robin's case, a social worker assigned to carry out care needs assessments agreed with all the professionals involved in his care that he was already in the best possible place to meet his needs. All the Our Life, Our Choice campaign is asking is that they have the choice to live in a village community. Thank you.
So if you imagine a world where you cannot choose where you want to live, who you want to live with, and how you want to live. If we weren't talking about people with a learning disability, this is what it looks like. Alfred, where do you live?
I live in Wembley.
How long have you lived there? Well, I've had a meeting. We've decided that you're not going to live in Wembley anymore. We're going to be good about it. We're going to have a consultation. It's going to be open for 3 months. You'll be able to say whatever you like. All your rights will be protected, but you will be moving. How does that feel, Alfred?
Horrendous. Disastrous.
Okay, don't worry. It's the right thing to do. Do you live with anyone?
Yes.
Who do you live with?
My good wife, Brenda.
How long have you lived with Brenda?
I've lived with Brenda for 49 years.
49 years. Wow. Now, Alfred, although this move is very, very good for you, and your life's going to be immeasurably better, you won't be seeing Brenda ever again. How does that feel?
That will be the end of my life.
Oh. And Alfred, are there things that you do where you live? Well, I don't know if you're a man of faith. Do you worship?
Yes.
And is that with the community that you identify with?
Yes, it is with the community.
Yeah. And have you worshipped with those people for long?
Quite a long time, yes.
Well, another benefit for you is that you will no longer be able to worship in that place or with those people. How does that feel?
Another disaster.
Okay. Now, all of these significant changes are going to take place at exactly the same time. But I don't want you to worry about it. And I don't want your family to worry about it. Because, as I say, it's absolutely in your best interest. And if you think it's not in your best interest, we'll have a meeting. Your family can come along to that meeting and they can say whatever they like, but we will use the opportunity, quite rightly, to explain to you, again, in detail, why it's in your interest. Does that sound good?
Horrendous. Disastrous.
Don't be non-compliant. Sit down.
Now, this conference is all about choice, and specifically it's about the choice of residential care provision for all people with a learning disability and or autism. And we've heard this morning about the way the CQC implements the guidelines on the choice of residential care provision, and we know from those guidelines that best practice is that care homes should have no more than 6 people, and that congregate settings are not best practice, and no new provision of these settings will be considered. Our Life, Our Choice came into being to challenge the CQC about their restrictive guidelines and to convince them to change their policies so as to enable people to have a choice to live in larger congregate settings such as village communities. Now, over a 2-year period, Our Life, Our Choice has had 4 online video meetings with senior representatives at the CQC, and on each occasion we asked them to provide the evidence that they have used to state that village communities and congregate settings are not best practice. But what do we find? Well, looking specifically at the size of the residential service, 95 of them, or 51%, actually have more than 6 residents in them. Yet they still get an outstanding rating. And we find 57% of those are congregate or campus settings, yet again, they are given an outstanding rating. 70% of the inspectors considered that they were indeed in line with the principles in registering the right support, right care, right culture. So this is a clear, real-world demonstration that the size and location of residential care provision in a well-managed and regulated service has no negative impact on the quality of life of the residents. There is no good evidence in either of those two guidelines to support the CQC stance that congregate and campus settings cannot provide access to the options, choices, dignity and independence that most people take for granted in their lives. CQC inspectors have determined that in many cases these settings offer an outstanding provision. Therefore, Our Life Our Choice is campaigning for a full range of choice of residential care provision for all people with a learning disability. The CQC's role should be to enable better care, not restrict it, and so must ensure that choice includes village and intentional congregate communities. Thank you.
One size does not fit everyone, and denying the choice for a certain group of people with learning disabilities the opportunity to lead their best lives is an absolute tragedy. We are hopeful that the government will take up this issue and ensure that all people with learning disabilities have a choice about where they can live.